El día de ayer, la senadora panista de Morena, la tal Lilly Téllez, publicó este video. Ayer estuvo en la cumbre de política de Texas 2026, la invitaron. Agradezco la invitación, dice, en Austin, Texas. Aprecio el interés y el cálido recibimiento de todos los mexicanos de bien, alzamos la voz en defensa de nuestra patria. Y fíjense, dice cosas interesantes y utiliza muchas falacias también. Esta mujer es pues bastante facha, más o menos del estilo que suelen ser los panuchos, aunque ella haya entrado al gobierno por Morena, o sea, eso nunca se nos debe olvidar, por el voto parejo, bueno, es el engendrito de la secta. Pero, ¿saben a qué fue realmente? Ustedes lo van a escuchar ahora, en la parte final de su discurso, le dice a los conservadores que están ahí, porque ella misma se asume como conservadora, que no volteen, que no dejen de poner atención y que no traten como con respeto o les den concesiones a los políticos, a los gobernadores de los estados que están en su frontera sur y que son de Morena, porque todos están metidos con el narco. Y miren, en eso tiene razón, están metidos con el narco. Pero luego dice cosas como muy sin sentido. Por ejemplo, para ella el único problema del narcotráfico lo tiene la secta. Incapaz de reconocer que este problema es generalizado y que no hay partido político en nuestro país que se escape de ello. Y hay que recordar cuántos jefes de plaza del PRIAN han caído a la cárcel por esto. Ojalá fueran todos los que han cometido este tipo de horrores, pero pues hay muchos gobernadores, diputados, no recuerdo si senadores han caído también por esto, seguramente sí, no lo recuerdo ahora, alcaldes sobre todo. Y no hay que olvidarnos, secretarios de Estado. Vean nada más los casos de Genarco García Luna o el caso de Cienfuegos, al que el Gusano López rescató. Pero esto quiere decir que se trata de todos los partidos, pero ella no. Ella dice que nada más es la secta, que nada más se trata de la secta. Y hace una descripción, algo así como una radiografía de la situación en el país. Sobre todo menciona como ejemplo por el cártel Jalisco y lo que pasó en el mes de febrero, después de que abatieron al delincuente aquel. Y vamos, la descripción pues sí es una radiografía de México, pero también se le van las cabras bien gacho, porque así es ella. Fíjense, acaba de reunirse anteayer, Lady Repsamen con Larry Fink. Subimos aquí el video, ¿no? Y está Lady Repsamen de rodillas cuando Trump dice voy a cancelar el TEMEC. Y ayer, por ejemplo, también anuncia Lady Repsamen que vamos a empezar a hacer fracking en México. Todos estos casos, todos estos temas, pues señalan que Lady Repsamen no es socialista, no es comunista, es una capitalista asquerosa neoliberal como a esta señora le gustan. Simplemente el problema que trae contra los de la secta es que pues ella es bastante facha, más que ellos seguramente, aunque ellos también son. Y ya, pero venir a decir que México se va a convertir, porque lo dice, en la próxima Venezuela o peor, pues ¿dónde? ¿Cuándo? Eso no es verdad, es una mentira. Anteayer se reunió con Larry Fink, BlackRock. Y caso curioso, ¿no? Pura coincidencia. Al siguiente día, ayer, nos anuncia que va a haber fracking. Eso no le indicará a esta señora de qué va el asunto. Pero bueno, dice bastantes cosas llenas de falacias. La tal Lilly Téllez, senadora panista, gracias a los adoctrinaditos de Morena. Y pues nada, bueno, hay algo que también, porque ya ven que dicen, sobre todo va la tal Nancy Flores allá a la mañanera y le dice, y todos los adoctrinados también, todos los corifeos, No, es de que ella va y dice que quiere que haya intervención en México. En este discurso que dice la facha esta, en este discurso vuelve a repetir que no se trata de eso. De hecho, lo repite unas 2 veces. No queremos que vayan a luchar nuestras batallas. No queremos, la mayoría de la gente en México, millones, no quiere la intervención. Queremos apoyo, pero nunca pide, nunca. Yo no he escuchado a nadie, de verdad, a nadie de estos asquerosos del PRIAN decir queremos que Donald Trump invada México. Eso yo no lo he escuchado. Eso se lo inventan. Y la tal Lady Repsamen también, porque nunca lo han dicho. Y hay que decir la neta, no se necesita mentir para señalar a esta gente. Pero mienten cuando dicen eso. Pero bueno, escúchenla.
Thank you. Distinguished members of the Texas Public Policy Foundation, dear friends of Patria Unida, thank you for your support for me to be able to be here to speak with you. Ladies and gentlemen, I warned that Mexico was drifting away from the free world and sliding into a new and dangerous kind of regime, one in which socialism, corruption, and cartels merge into a single power structure. Mexico is not simply going through a crisis of national security. It is undergoing a regime change, an experiment in building what I call a socialist mafiocracy, a system in which authoritarian politics, an omnipresent state, and narco-terrorism are fused into one. And yes, this is happening on the southern flank of the United States. Let me start from a shared reality. The fentanyl epidemic in this country is not just a statistic for us. The same structures that flood American streets with drugs are the ones that turn Mexican towns into war zones. The chain is one and the same. Armed terrorist groups, corrupt politicians and officials, transnational networks, and finally, devastated families on both sides of the border. One of the clearest examples of this hemispheric threat is the Jalisco New Generation cartel, led until recently by Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho. This organization evolved from a drug trafficking group into a multinational enterprise of terror and a parallel authority in Mexico. It not only managed global supply chains of fentanyl and other drugs, it also acts as a de facto authority in many regions of Mexico. Cartels like these decide who can run for office, who can open a business, and even who is allowed to live in a given town. They collect taxes through extortion, they control strategic routes, and they maintain militias prepared to conquer and defend territories. But they are not invincible. On February of this year, El Mencho was finally killed by the Mexican military in an operation in Jalisco supported by the United States intelligence that helped pinpoint his exact location. He is dead, but his cartel's operation is still thriving in alliance with Morena's government. It is impossible not to ask why, after so many years of suffering, violence inflicted by this cartel, did the Mexican authorities finally decide to go after him, only when President Trump put sustained pressure on our government? The answer is simple. It was never a question of capacity. It was always a question of political will. The problem has never been the Mexican military. The problem has been the Mexican commander-in-chief, the president, who does not want to give the order to dismantle the cartels. That is why when Mexicans are asked about the idea of a United States military intervention on our soil to eliminate the cartels, most reject it. But at the same time, an overwhelming majority support close, robust cooperation between our countries to defeat this common enemy. We Mexicans are patriots. We want to fight and win our own battles. The problem is that the Mexican Morena government has been complicit with cartels, allowing them to grow stronger. The clearest evidence came in the days after El Mencho's death. Armed militias emerged almost simultaneously in multiple states to avenge their dead leader. Across large parts of the country, Mexicans lived through scenes of war and terror. Millions had to shelter in their homes, afraid of being caught in the crossfire. Roadblocks with burning vehicles appeared in dozens of points. Highways were cut and entire cities were paralyzed. Businesses were burned. Dozens of security personnel were attacked, and dozens of our brave soldiers paid with their lives in ambushes. The fact that a criminal organization can deploy this level of military power and territorial disruption is only possible because it has the direct support of those in the government. It is clear that we are no longer facing ordinary organized crime, but a fusion between criminal cartels and political power. The socialist ruling party, Morena, chose to govern with the cartels instead of against them. In many regions, the state and the narcos are no longer enemies. They have become partners in a shared project of control. During elections, cartels have become the hidden campaign coordinators, deciding who can put up posters, who can hold rallies, and who will not live long enough to see election day. In the 2024 elections, more than 40 candidates were murdered. We held elections, but in too many places, the true electoral authority was the cartel's command. This is the backdrop against which the United States made a strategic choice. When the United States elevated Mexican cartels as a national security threat and built a comprehensive shield, escudo, the Trump administration broke with years of dangerous complacency. President Sheinbaum said she was proud of not being invited to the shield with other Latin American presidents to fight against cartels. The United States elevated the fight against organizations like El Mencho's to the level where it belongs. President Trump signaled that cooperation would no longer mean press releases and photo opportunities, but real pressure, real intelligence sharing, and real consequences. But I am here to offer a warning. The strategy of the Mexican regime is to navigate the Trump administration, to wait it out. They hope that a future administration will relax the pressure and allow them to return to business as usual. They are willing to deliver a few symbolic blows against certain cartel leaders, but not to break the narco-political pact they themselves helped build. Just today, right now, Mexico will have a new Secretary for International Affairs, Roberto Velasco, right now at the Mexican Senate. He is the same person that had meetings with high American officials in Washington, D.C., who promised more cooperation, but back with President Sheinbaum, sabotages the work between our countries against the enemy. Because the heart of the problem is this: the people who should protect Mexicans and who should be your partners in dismantling narcoterrorism depend on narcoterrorism to maintain their own power. This is why I insist security cooperation with Mexico should be continued, not only on how many tons of drugs are seized or how many capos are extradited, but also on whether the Mexican government is willing to respect the rule of law and dismantle the narco-political networks inside the state. There are sitting senators, governors, including some in border states with the United States, and even in Sheinbaum's cabinet members with links to organized crime, and yet not a single prominent politician, narco-politician from Morena has been prosecuted. No one. We are in the early stages of a problem that can become as big as Venezuela. Dear American friends, some in Mexico are raising our voices, but not without consequences. Last November, we were horrified by the assassination of Carlos Manzo, a courageous major who stood up to the cartels and denounced their ties to the federal government. He was executed in public while participating in a parade with his family. That image, a local leader gunned down in the middle of a civic festivity, deeply moved and horrified Mexicans. We are in an extreme situation. I say it as someone who, before entering politics 8 years ago, spent 3 decades as a journalist and who survived an assassination attempt 26 years ago because I was exposing politicians and narco-corruption. In all that time, I have never seen the level of danger facing the opposition in Mexico that we see today. We face a double threat from the cartels and from their allies in the government. This is why conservatives in the United States must recognize Mexican conservatives as natural allies in a common fight. We are not asking you to fight our battles for us. We are asking you not to close your eyes to who we are and what we are facing. The momentum that President Trump has given to the hemispheric fight against narco-terrorism must also focus on stopping narco-politics. We must go after those narco-politicians that betrayed Mexicans and our partners. What we ask of you is this: do not treat a narco-authoritarian regime on your border as normal politics. Morena is the alliance of authoritarianism and cartels. Do not accept short-term concessions in exchange for long-term catastrophe. And always remember, in Mexico there are millions of brave people who want to see terrorism fall as much as you do. Thank you.